Hello and welcome to the latest episode of Gaelic Lives. It's a preview show today. We're looking forward to Sunday, a massive game in the National League. Armagh head to Ballybofey. Thankfully, I'm joined by a couple of men who know the whole story about the counties and the rivalry. Kevin Cassidy from Marbella. We must be doing something wrong, lads. He's here for the Donegal side of things. A man who's won an Ulster title with Donegal, also Ulster winner with Armagh, Stefan Forker, has been involved in coaching heavily over recent seasons with Armagh Miners last year. And Kevin, as he wrote in his column a few weeks ago, is now looking forward to making sure Gaelic under 12s make the most of these new rules. Lads, thanks a million for jumping on. And how are things? Kev, you're in Marbella, and Stefan was just telling us he's just come home from shopping with a few youngsters around the house, and Holy Trinity might have been a wee bit easier.
As I said, you says it's a week off. I call it a week on now, But no, look, it's all good. Everybody's healthy and fit, and that's the main thing.
And Armagh All Ireland champions, it must have a great ring to it.
Oh, look, it definitely was a great, especially for the family as well. It was a great few months, and there's still events. There's actually seems to be a lot of events this weekend. Midterm, and a lot of clubs are sort of running, honoring their players and stuff like that. But no, look, it didn't feel real. It was a great, the semi-final. Actually, I enjoyed nearly as much as the final. Beating Kerry, and the lead up to the final. The aftermath. As I said, I was speaking to you as well. I was away actually for the week after, but no, it lingered on. Everybody enjoyed it. The county really got behind it. The support that they give, as well, and I really, really enjoyed it. And there's been a lot of really, really good events afterwards. So no, we're going to have to give Sam up soon, but there's still a clamber for him at different events. But no, look, it's great.
And the minor lads must have actually loved that whole thing. You're obviously still in contact with them, and it's been a massive influence on them.
To be honest, the minors getting to the final was a major deal, but then it was obviously eclipsed by the seniors getting to the final. But no, look, I suppose it was just a great season, all in all for Armagh. I suppose, as it says, it really was eclipsed by the seniors, but. I suppose the important thing is, and I do feel that there's 5 or 6 or 7 of them boys at a really high level that can, in the next 2 or 3 seasons, I would suggest will be part of the senior setup. And I think I know Derry obviously have an outstanding record, but it's about getting them through and producing players that are going to really get into the senior squad and kick on and make sure that Armagh probably haven't been at the top table. They've been at the top table now for a few years, but previous to that, when I was playing, we weren't really there. But it's about producing. We haven't had good youth teams, and it's about producing players that are going to keep Armagh at the top table for as long as possible.
And Kevin, obviously, Donegal were pretty close last year. I sort of expect them to beat Galway that day. They didn't, but since that, Jim has brought in 5 new players, some new and some not so new. But even at that McCrory Cup campaign, I was just watching that first half, Conor McCall, Kevin Muldoon, really exciting players. So there must be something coming in Donegal as well, below the top.
Yeah, there is definitely. I suppose last year against Galway, looking back, we probably left it behind us in terms of maybe just didn't play as well as we probably hoped we would. Then this year, obviously, you're gearing up for another tilt. The panel is strengthened. Or McFadden Ferry, a club my own's back from the Cruciate. He's there. Obviously, Michael Murphy's there. Owen McHugh's back. Young Doherty. So there's a lot of good fresh legs there, and there is good work being done in the county here. Four Masters Club are kind of leading the way, and they've dominated the Ulster minor scene for the last number of years, and that was the full McCrory Cup team you seen there playing for the Abbey. So Muldoon's in the panel, another 1 or 2 lads knocking about it. So it's definitely positive for the future.
And your own club, from chatting to the Four Masters men in the lead up to those finals, they mentioned that they had some ding-dong battles with Gaelic, so there must be something happening as well around your neck of the woods.
Yeah, we were lucky enough last year with 5 county minors, all really good lads, and hunger to learn first of all, and hunger then for success. So we'd be hoping that some of them will push into our senior team this year. Obviously at the minute they're involved with so much, you don't get to see them. Some of them were the 20s, some of them are knocking around the senior panel, a lot of them playing schools football. So, we hope to see them come April, May, June time, and it's a boost that we need because our club were beating the semi last year, we were beating the final the year before that. So I think a wee bit of fresh energy, I think, will help us.
And Kevin, I was chatting to Colin McFadden yesterday for an article for Gaelic Life, just looking ahead to the game, and he was obviously happy with 2 wins, and he spoke about the All Ireland champions coming to town and all that. But the Ballybofey factor, what is it about it that it's obviously going to be talked about this weekend, because I'm sure Donegal people want to keep that fortress sort of term going. What is it about the place? Is it just...
It's the tunnel. I think it's the tunnel on the way in.
have we got a tunnel story here? Have we?
No, not me. But if you could put it in there at the wrong time, maybe with Kevin, you wouldn't be coming out of it well.
If there was cameras in that tunnel, there'd be a lot of suspensions, purely that way. Do you know what? That's a funny one, because I go back to our time. Brian McAnuff used to be involved, and we used to play at least 3 league games in Ballyshannon, and the players absolutely hated it because Ballyshannon was a heavy pitch at that time of year, and whatever arrangement was done with the county board for finances, whatever, we had to go there 3 times. That changed slightly. It's not that Ballybofey is intimidating. It's just that there's a better playing surface, and the players rather play there. That's the only thing about it. And then once Donegal went in a kind of a run, the county board have played more and more league games there, and I think Ballyshannon might get one now if they even get one.
O'Donnell Park has game as well, usually every year as well. So, and Stefan, like, you went to Galway, didn't win, but that first half against Tyrone was awesome. There's no other way of saying it.
Yeah, look, I was behind the nets, and I wasn't down in Galway, but I got my first sort of viewing of the team, and look, they shot the lights out, and they really put Tyrone to the sword very early and made things very easy. But everything they touched turned to goal. You could see all the coaching that was going on, the deliberate stuff on the kick out. What I thought was was most awesome about them was their speed on the break. I was behind the nets and they were at the far end of the field. Not a lot of kicking, running the ball out, and they were there 7-8 seconds, and Tyrone just couldn't handle it. And then I'm not sure statistics wise, but like they shot maybe 3 or 4 2-pointers in the first half, and they kicked no wides really at all. And no luck on Tyrone were out of sight, and obviously Ethan Rafferty was a massive part of that, and he was a massive part of the break as well. Ethan, I know obviously well. He was a serious athlete. Like, I think that's underplayed. His leap, his speed, and then when he's running against players who are already fatigued and he's breaking out, it nearly makes him look that wee bit faster. Do you know what I mean? If somebody's broke out and Ethan's on the hoof, he's part of the Armagh sort of counter attack, and he's getting them up the field at awesome pace, and obviously adding to the attack now as well. So maybe took Tyrone by surprise. Maybe I'm not even sure if he was named. Yourself, these dummy teams and stuff. I'm not sure if he was named, but they maybe didn't have much prep for him. But he was nearly the difference in the game in the end.
What about the wee dummy on to the right? I just thought that was class.
Look,
you weren't shocked. You're not shocked.
No, Ethan could play outfield. There's no doubt about it. But he's doing an awesome job. Even I was watching his kick out, in the warm up, and he's just, he's a great striker. Everybody wants to sort of shoehorn an outfield player into nets, But then, you're sacrificing something. Maybe their kick outs or their off the ground kicking isn't as good. But Ethan was swinging half a leg at it, and it was going 60, 70, 80 yards. Just on his trajectory on the ball as well. He was kicking it into the wind as well, and he could keep it low. So, look, he has everything, but again, he was maybe going under the radar against Tyrone as such, and Jim will not be. He'll not be under the radar this weekend.
Aye, and Kevin, Well, obviously, Sean Patton's got that similar sort of kick. Like we saw Michal Quirk, an unbelievable one of the values of Twitter. We chatted off air that his downfalls, but he had an unbelievable completion of Sean's, those ping kickouts that Stefan's talking about. So it's a massive tool to have. And I suppose all this talk of Murphy supposedly being in goals or whatever, but like Patton's just can kick over midfield, Kevin. It's huge.
Yeah, definitely. Like, I think the whole Murphy thing, it was more or less a trial. They played him in goals, and then
I didn't believe it anyway, to be honest.
Yeah, it was more of a kind of a like. It went through the stats of how many opportunities they created when he was in, as opposed to when he was out. So it could have been any player, just happened to be Michael. But like you can't take Patton out of Donegal. Listen. He's not the most comfortable on the ball. We won't see him cross the halfway line and demand the ball. But what he does have is, the guy was at the Dublin game and he put 3 over the top that caused complete chaos in the Dublin defence. And they get a wee flick down either side and you're right through in goal. So he does it for his club all the time. So it's just such a dangerous weapon.
And Kevin, if you were in Jim's shoes, would you be just putting a marker on Ethan? Just I can't remember one of the Kilcoo players, but he was assigned to pick up Began when they played. So is that what needs to happen now with an Ethan Rafferty type player?
Yeah, 100%. Jim, as soon as he crosses, Jim will have him tagged. Like against Dublin, Sheridan was bombing forward, and Donegal had their work done because they knew he was no threat, so they didn't even pick him up. They just ignored him, which meant Dublin couldn't create the space. But no, Ethan's a different prospect altogether, and there definitely will be a system in place that, once he crosses, he's tagged, and it may be the case of they sacrifice the least dangerous, if that makes sense, that they might leave somebody slightly free just to make sure that Ethan's picked up.
And I don't know what either of you think of this one. How big is the game? Like it's like McFadden had said, they played 230 minutes against each other last year, and there's only a point between them. They'll probably meet before the year's out. So is there anything like Stefan, do you think, is it a big game or just a game?
Look, I think league points are on offer. I know Donegal have got 4 on the board, but the league, I know it's exciting with the new rules and stuff, but it's exciting because the teams are so evenly matched. You know what I mean? So I think Armagh maybe would like to get one back in terms of revenge, but just they have a wee bit of a hoodoo over Armagh, in recent seasons, and maybe just in a league game put that to bed and get 2 points. I'm not sure. I don't think anybody will get overly upset about it, but Jim's a winner as well, and as McKinney is. So when you're going to play a game, you're going to play a game to win. So Armagh will certainly be if you're 3 games in, you're only sitting with 2 points. Relegations. It's a word that'll definitely have to be mentioned. But no, look, I think everybody's looking forward to the game, and I don't think both teams are actually playing. Some counties for different reasons maybe don't have people available, but Donegal have a lot of. I know Langan and Mickey and a few guys are injured, but Armagh have a good cohort of men playing, as do Donegal. So they're definitely not holding back. Like whoever McGinney has available and whoever McGuinness have available, they'll definitely be on the team, ready to play and go for the win.
And Kevin, thinking about Aidan Forker is scoring 2-pointers, Paul Conroy is scoring 2-pointers. There's all these people who can kick outside that zone. Does that change how Donegal approach this weekend? Teams are coming from different areas. Like Aidan Forker's coming from the wing, Paul Conroy's maybe popping up around the arc. Does that change?
It's a funny one this weekend because you know what, we picked up 2 points last week. That puts us in 4. Being realistic and being honest, that team does not want to make a league final because the simple reason you're out 6 days later against Derry. So I know for a fact that they don't want to make a league final. So what do you do this weekend? Stefan spoke about Armagh want to break that hoodoo. Does Jim say, right, let's get this one, get the 6 points and then ease off? Or does he slightly change the team this time and give some lads chances? In relation to the likes of the 2 pointers and where they're coming from. Like that's an area that coaches will have to hone in on and obviously do their analysis on. And different teams come from different areas, so I don't know if we're actually at that level yet in terms of the analysis and in terms of those games. I think we're still getting used to them. So it definitely is a funny one this weekend.
And nobody probably wants to bring out their new toys yet because there's so much at stake. But like if Langan and McGee, like McGee hasn't played this year, Langan supposedly away for a scan on a hamstring, the last I'd heard. So based on what Armagh brought to the Tyrone kickout, does that leave a worry this weekend around the middle for Donegal? Like Kieran Thompson will be out there. It's hardly a temptation to start Murphy at midfield. Probably not.
No, you won't see.
I wouldn't anyway.
You won't see Michael this weekend either. I don't imagine. Listen, you're probably looking at the likes of Hugh McFadden and Thompson in there if the two boys are not ready to go. And there's no doubt it's a big area that where Armagh can hurt us this weekend, especially with the two boys missing. So, what do we do there? Like the opposition kickouts is out of your control. You just have to make the most of it. But your own kick out, does Patton go longer? Does he try and get them off short? So these are things that Jim will have to think about this week.
And from Armagh's point of view, Kevin, like what's the hardest thing to plan for? Is it the fact that someone like Merlin can pop up anywhere, the fact they can score from long range, or is it Connaughty's nearly unstoppable? What is it about them?
I think like the biggest thing that stands out for me now is confidence and self-belief. They were always a good team, but now after last year, they have that belief, and the way they turned the game around against Tyrone after a bad display the first day out. You know what I mean? Those sort of things, and I think I've said it many times. Armagh are one of the perfect teams for these new rules because they can mix the game up. They have kick passers, they have boys inside who can win their own ball, so they're very dangerous when it comes to this new system.
Would you agree with that belief factor, Stefan? Would you?
I would say, I was just listening to some of you journalists and stuff, and even some of the experts. A lot of teams did pick Donegal and Dublin, and ready. So I do believe Donegal is obviously contender. I think anybody in the Division 1 should consider themselves contenders, but Armagh were actually sort of not really talked about as contenders. I know they are now after their display against Tyrone, but I would say Geezer would certainly have used some of that as a wee bit of fuel, as if they were a wee bit disrespected, as All-Ireland finalists, and they didn't appear in a lot of people's selections for
this year's All-Ireland, you mean?
This year All-Ireland,
Yeah.
I think, at the start of the year and start of the league, they're picking Ulster champions and all the rest, and Armagh's name didn't really appear anywhere. And you can be sure McGeeney will be using anything he can to get a kick out of the boys, but so I think Armagh certainly have confidence, and I do think though they've Tomas McCormick and they have Ross McQuillan and a few boys. I know they've played bits and pieces, but I still think no matter what team you are, you need to sort of reinvent and have a wee bit of energy coming from a different place. I don't think you can just slap the same 15 on again. And I think new boys need to step up and give something a wee bit different. And I think a lot was made last year of the strength of their panel, and I think their panel's maybe stronger again. I know Rain's missing. I'm not sure what the situation is there, if he's going to appear back or not. But I think, as Kevin says, Armagh and Donegal as well are well equipped with the new rules. Lots of pace, ball winners inside, good man-on-man defenders, and and they looked. I think McGilligan and McKeever and Donaghy have done a great job, adapting to the new rules. And I think a lot of people were saying, they bounced back from the Galway game, but I thought Armagh in the first half against Galway are actually very good.
I heard that. Yeah, they were very good in the first half. Yeah,
they were good in the first half. I know Galway owned the ball, but they couldn't really break Armagh down. I thought Armagh looked good up front.
Was it the 3 pointers eventually turned it, wasn't it?
I think the game got away. That's the new rules.
We had no electric that weekend, so we didn't see one ball kicked.
we only got it back on, but what do you call it? No, look, the two. I think there was 2 or 3 in it, and then Walsh maybe somebody there's 2 or 3 2-pointers, and then end up there was 6, 7, 8, and the game just petered out. But I don't think Armagh were poor. I don't think it was a bounce back, but it was. And as I says, Galway's probably up there at the top at the minute. So I don't think it was a poor enough performance. But look, their level of performance has been very good, and it's coming off the back of last year. But good, strong panel, and they should be well equipped for another tilt at the All Ireland, I would say.
Who wins on Sunday, Stefan?
Do you know what? It's because obviously we have a good home record, and I think Jim won't want Geezer to get one over him, and he just wants to hit that 6-point mark. So I think Donegal will be hard to beat at home this week.
Stefan, yourself?
I think, as I said, the home factor in all the National League games is massive, and Ballybofey, we would never really put our finger on why it's hard to go to, but it is. And I think maybe Donegal will just shade it because of just the home factor. I think there's very little between the teams, but I think Donegal might just. I don't think there'll be too much in it, but maybe just Donegal will pip it at the last.
We'll have to keep our eyes peeled in the tunnel then to see if there's any fireworks. Before we move on, just when you're chatting about that there, to the both of you, how much do teams love being written off, or is it a myth? Both of you, whoever wants to chip in there first.
I suppose you're always trying to clamber at anything to sort of get you a bit of a mental edge. Like some people's.
Are you nearly cross when you're not written off? You've nothing to cling on to, you know. Always wondered about
that. You don't know. You always need something, you know, to motivate you to. You know, if you look at the Michael Jordan documentary, he always nearly created, you know, a siege mentality. It didn't have to be against the team or a journalist or somebody said something. It was just somebody did something on him or tapped him on the head or, you know, something that just was like, I'm going to get him back. That's what it was. And I suppose you're using anything to sort of get a bit of fire in the belly. Like, you know, some boys can create that from nothing. They're just hotheads as it is. And some people need it, and some people are relaxed. The likes of Andy Myrne and the likes of them boys are horizontal and they just play. It doesn't really matter, you know.
What would you, Kev?
Yeah, I think especially it's the likes of Armagh, who's after coming off obviously a very successful year. The natural thing there is for the levels to dip slightly because the hunger, obviously, you know, reaching the pinnacle. So I think Geezer will try and look for anything that keeps those levels up. You know what I mean? I know Jim did it when he came into Donegal first because our levels weren't high. So it was a case of, right, okay, he's have no respect. Nobody, you know, gives you any time of day. So it does help teams. Like, I'd agree with Stefan. Some players couldn't care less what you said to them. They're just going to go out and play. Other players do need that wee bit of fire. So just it depends what kind of character you are. And I think there are certain situations during the year where you might have to create something that gets the team up.
I suppose the manager reads the room and maybe sees what way things are, I suppose. Looking ahead to the other games, first up, Derry against Galway. I'm sort of happy, Kevin, that you are nearly going to throw us the points in Ballyshannon. Sounds like that's what's going to happen. they might be useful. But the Derry versus Galway game, Galway have won both. Derry have no points, and it's in Celtic Park. What's the thoughts about this one?
I think it's a must-win for Derry, to be honest with you, because you don't want to head down the stretch, you know, looking for points. I thought Derry were very good against Kerry. Very impressed with their midfield. You know, obviously they're shooting. McGuigan was on form, and even some of their kick passing. So, you know, Celtic Park's a hard place to go as well. So, you know, they probably need the points more than Galway do at this stage. So, I think Derry might come out on top.
Hopefully that prediction's right. Stefan, Tyrone, you're a sort of Tyrone representative here, the Holy Trinity side of the gang here today. So Tyrone, a win and a defeat, and away to Mayo this weekend, who a bit like Derry are sort of scraping for something. So how do you see this one going, or what have you what's the general chat in Tyrone, I suppose?
I suppose it was very strange.
They might not tell you anything. They might not tell Armagh people anything.
No, there's a few things said at the staff room table now, but nothing to. They keep the doors fairly closed. But look, I think everybody, there was a bit of indifference to the county team last year, which was strange for Tyrone. Obviously, how fanatical they are about football, and Malachi got bums on seats there in the first game against Derry, and then obviously there was a big crowd, Armagh and Tyrone crowd at that game, but I think he needs to get a win here to keep the bums on seats, before he doesn't want the bubble to burst. But look, I think obviously he was playing without the Canavans and on the Ergal cohort, and I do think he needs them boys back. I'm not sure if they're back in the fold. I'm sure they are this weekend. If they are, and if the boys are firing, I think Mayo's a wee bit scary at the minute, a wee bit lacking a wee bit of direction. I think there's question marks over, or mixed days under a wee bit of pressure. So I think, Tyrone can go down there and actually turn them over. I think when they need points, I know they're on 2, but I think they can go down there and with the Ergal boys in tow, I think they can turn them over.
How much of a learning curve, albeit a very ruthless one, would that first half against Armagh have been to a new management, to a new setup?
I'm not going to tell Malachi O'Rourke. Malachi O'Rourke knows how to manage better than I'll ever be able to do that. Look, I'm sure it was a gunk. Just games can sort of unravel very quickly. I don't think there's that much in between the teams. Armagh had their tails up. Tyrone did pull it back, and Armagh had 3 or 4 or 5 kickouts they lost in the second half, and Tyrone got back close. And don't get, you have Paddy Hampsey and a few other boys missing as well. So look, they'll not read too much in that. They'll have, I suppose the key word is learnings now, or people like to talk about learning. But they'll learn plenty, and the Tyrone boys are not slow. So Malachi, I'll get back to the drawing board there. They have 2 weeks off, and we'll be ready to. There's a lot of bounce back in the National League. It seems if you win one, you get your head down again, and you have to win the next one.
Division 2, there's a massive game in the Hyde. Roscommon 2 from 2 and seem to be playing pretty exciting football, and Monaghan 2 from 2, hitting up ridiculous score lines as well. So something has to give somewhere, or do we have a draw? Or Kevin, what about Monaghan? Monaghan without Manzi, but the score lines keep coming. So what is it?
Crazy when you see the score lines they're putting up, but we know ourselves, Monaghan are always blessed with natural footballers, and I suppose forwards as well. So listen, it's no surprise that they're racking up big scores, but Roscommon are very hard to play against in the Hyde. We spoke about Ballybofey, we spoke about Celtic Park. The Hyde's not an easy place to go either, and I watched them on the first day out against Down, and I thought they were very impressive, especially when the Mortars came in the fray. They were seriously efficient in front of goal. So I think it's going to be hard for Monaghan this weekend, and I think Roscommon will take the points.
And Stefan, Down are at home to Meath, and Galway, I think, have scored 10 2-pointers over the 2 games. Down are the same and came back from 10 points down. So they're up against Meath, and I think that one's in Parkasser. I'm really sure it is. So
I think it is, yeah.
What's the thoughts about that one? And Down obviously stepping up from the division, and now they're in Division 2. So how do you think they're going?
I think Down's trajectory, Conor Alvarez's got them in shape, and he's a couple of years down the line, and they're definitely, the trajectory's on the up. I think Meath were lacking a wee bit of identity there. They didn't know where they were. But I think, with the new coaching team there, they've definitely improved. But I think Down have a wee bit more about them. And especially, we keep talking about home advantage as well. I think Down, I think that they'll turn them over in Parkasser.
They've got a really strong record at home. And I think Laverty might not have been beaten in Parkasser. Maybe that stat will be wrong. Something tells me that's a stat that was threw up last year. So. And Cavan are there at home to Louth, and Cavan have no points. So Cavan, they'll need to, a bit like Derry and a bit like Mayo, the things need to change, I suppose.
Yeah, definitely, and it's not going to be easy for them, because I like the look of this Louth team under Ger Brennan. So it's going to be difficult to pick points up this weekend, I think, for Cavan, because Louth are, yourself, did a good run last year. they're getting used to Gerard's ideas and the way he wants to play and stuff. And reports I'm getting this year from challenge games and stuff that were played that they're moving quite well. So I think it's going to be hard for Cavan to get the points this weekend.
And Stefan, if you just look at this, I suppose, division as a whole, like Armagh and Donegal were the top dogs last year, got to the final, got promoted, and won were Ulster champions, and Norman are All Ireland champions. So, does it sort of dispel the whole Division 1 factor, or does it depend on the counties that are coming out of Division 2? Like, does the likes of Amon or Roscommon stock rise if they get promoted? Championship wise, that is.
I think the top end of Division 2 is probably capable of being. I think the likes of Down and all who are decent. I think there's a wee bit of a drop off from there, but I think the likes of Roscommon could certainly take their place in Division 1, as they probably will. But no, look, as you say, I think the National League is one of the best, things that we have. I think, you look at Division 2, it's a brilliant league, competitive games, and against everybody playing at the same level. You don't know where it's going to go, and I think it's a brilliant product. I suppose what you're saying is, could we not go to a three division? You know what I mean? If you had Division 1, Division 2, Division 3, it lends itself to senior, intermediate, junior. That's how you could structure your championship. I suppose the problem is schedule and stuff. You'll have more. I as a viewer, I'm thinking more games as well. If you had 10, 12 teams, you have 11 National League games, all teams at the same level, it would be brilliant. Do you know what I mean? And somebody was talking about as well, could we not games on Friday nights? We should be looking for Friday night games as well. And we're talking about the Donegal game here and the Armagh game. How hard was it to get to watch the Donegal and Kerry game last Saturday? Do you know what I mean? We can watch club junior games in Armagh or whatever on TV, and I couldn't get to watch the Donegal Kerry game, which was on last Saturday. Like, it's crazy stuff.
And Kevin, we're under Division 3 it's an Ulster based podcast here, so we've Fermanagh and Antrim both with 1 from 1. So Fermanagh are heading to Clare. They've got a really tough day at the office against Kildare, who are going well and came back to nudge out Antrim. So what way do you see these games going?
Yeah, well, listen, it's I suppose a lot of talk this week about Antrim and what's going to happen with Armagh and stuff down the line. But yeah, listen, they'll be looking to pick up points, and I know it's not easy on the road, but I just fancy, especially this weekend with everything that's going on this last while about talk and stuff, that it may create a wee bit of siege mentality there, and they may be able to turn on and get the win.
And what about the likes of the Antrim situation? Like, is it just a case of, it's obviously coming down to health and safety and numbers and maybe money in some cases, nobody really knows, but is it a case that it's sort of the players who are doing the training, the players who are doing the preparation, should their views be taken into consideration, or is this a different sort of debate here?
I think, honestly, I know, listen, it's a bumper game and crowds and health and safety and stuff, but at the end of the day, if that's the home venue and that's where you're playing your games, I actually love Corrigan Park myself. I think it's a fantastic venue for a game, but is it fair? Like, they probably see that they're up against it anyway, the way the draw is with them, so they want to hang on to any little kind of thing that might help them. So personally, I think if that's where the game is, and that's where they're supposed to play, then they should be allowed to play there.
And what's the general feeling in Armagh, Stefan? Is it sort of mixed, or is it a case of we just play it wherever it's fixed?
It's the sort of debate's only starting to bubble. I think the actual general consensus is Antrim's probably right, and the players are probably right that if they're drawn and that's their home pitch, then that's where it should be played. I think the people that's probably going to push the hardest is the Ulster Council, who have lost out on the McKenna Cup money, and they don't really want to lose out on 8 or 10,000, whatever that equates to in terms of money. But as Kevin says, I think Armagh and Antrim would be in Corrigan Park would be a class game. Do you know what I mean? It actually adds a wee bit of. I don't want to sound disrespectful, but I don't think it matters. I think Armagh will end up turning Antrim over, probably by less, maybe in Corrigan Park for sure, but I think they'll turn them over at some stage, whether games anywhere. But I think going to Corrigan Park's a wee bit of something. It's a wee bit different, do you know? And I think the match should be there.
And with Armagh having like a ridiculously massive support, it would just be a case of whoever gets tickets and move on to the next round, whatever way it falls. Is that just the way it would have to be in that case?
Aye, look, I think people think, what do you call it? You buy a season ticket, they think that they're entitled to, I don't know. But like, I just think, whoever can, I don't even know what it holds. What does it hold? 3,000, and if even?
4,000, I think, was maybe the quoted one on that last publication there, 4,000. So
look, it is what it is. Just put the 4,000 in it, and it should be. I think Antrim players, are obviously trying to, as you said, get that siege mentality. So if Armagh players could just come out and say, "I look, we'd play it anywhere," I could just bust the bubble straight away.
And Fermanagh away to Clare, Stefan, like Clare last year, like I remember that day they played Kerry, like they asked Kerry so many questions, and then like last year they're missing so many players, quite a few of them are back, and Peter Keen's, and so they lost to Antrim in the first game, but Fermanagh went from a heavy defeat to beating Antrim. So what about them this weekend? They're away from home as well, so what's the thoughts on it?
Fermanagh, they beat Antrim by a point the last day. I think Antrim, come back to them. But as I say, Clare, a lot of these teams have a lot of turnovers and maybe not a lot of turnover of players, and it's maybe they don't have it coming from a massive playing pool. The likes of Donegal and Tyrone teams have, so they need all the people that they have, soldiering. But I think Fermanagh are struggling at the minute, and I can't see them getting the win.
And finally, just a wee quick fire. We're not going to go into a debate about the rules because we don't have a full week to talk with things to do and things to move on to. And Malaga's calling in the distance, Kevin. But is there? I know you're a big advocate of the rules for a start, Kevin. But if you want to take this one each, is there one you'd get rid of and one that you would stay? And if not, which would you tweak? Kevin first.
Being honest, like when I heard them coming in, I thought to myself, there's a few there I'm not sure about. The discipline, first of all, hand the ball back to the opponent. That I was wondering how that would, trickle down to club level. Now, we had our first senior club last weekend. We played Ulster Club against Glenullen. And I have to say, the lads, both sides, just bought into this. And if you read anything that Jim Gavin or Eamon Fitzmaurice has explained about these rules when they were put to them, it was about this might take a while, but our kids in the next generation will have this as second nature. So I think it's a cultural thing they're trying to bring in. So at the start, I would have got rid of that, but after seeing it in action, I think, listen, it's a good idea. The rest of them, I just think they're absolutely brilliant because the way and the stuff we were watching this last number of years was atrocious. So, like young lads playing the game now, if you're an inside forward or if you're a tight cornerback or if you're a ball fetching midfielder, you can go and express yourself. So, I would keep them all. And if I was going to tweak any, and maybe the descent one, to see how it goes, but I would keep them all, to be honest.
So you were thinking about the descent one, about not handing the ball back until you saw that club game, and you reckoned that it might work?
I just thought at club level, how would that be placed? And there'd be boys, trying to manufacture a situation where there was a bit of pushing and shoving so that it could be moved up. But the first game that I saw, anyway, it just worked a treat. Like, lads just have it in their head. Like, we all talk about rugby and how disciplined they are. And listen, we don't want to pick off too many other sports. We have a great sport the way we are, but like, can you imagine if you're coaching young kids and it gets to a stage where they're at minor, where this is just second nature to them? They just hand the ball and we retreat back. You know what I mean? So at first I would have got rid of it, but after seeing it now, I know where they're coming from.
Stefan, what about yourself? You're playing and coaching as well, so you've both hats on. So what's the thoughts on what you've saw over this past few weeks?
As I said, I'm skeptic by nature, maybe, but I was skeptical. But I said we'll maybe give them 3 rounds in the National League, and then we'll give them a good, review. But I think the stats are already coming out. The scoring, I suppose from a coaching perspective, you're looking to put structure on things, and from a viewing perspective, people want chaos, and so it's that. But I think the product there now, Jim's obviously very thorough. I think he's come out in a few podcasts and a few things, and there's like massive works went into it, massive thoughts went into it. But the only one I would tweak that I don't like is the 2 points for a free outside the arc. I think 2 points outside the arc from play, fair enough. But I think from a free outside there, I think that's probably something that's not a major thing that could change. But I think everything else is working. The other one, I suppose, is the throw up. It's probably really a non-event in the actual broad scheme of the game. I know Galway worked a great one against Mayo. I think it was. I think it was Sullivan a non-issue, really. I suppose the issue was actually probably created by our clubman Ben Creeley just wrestling before the throw up, but all they had to do was just referee it. Do you know what I mean? Just police it and say. But I just think it's a non. It just looks a bit funny at the start, and just throw it up as normal. I don't think it needed to be brought in. I don't think it's going to be changed. It's obviously not a big feature of the game, but I suppose that's it. But I think the rest of them on their meeting, every Monday night afterwards and stuff, and looking at it. But as I say, from a club's perspective, I just worry about the referees. It's a lot to get their heads around, and how's that going to be? How they're going to actually get it sorted for these league games. But look, I suppose it's 2 rounds into the National League, and everybody's starting to get their heads around it. Maybe it'll not take long for everybody to get their head around them after 3 or 4 rounds of the club league as well. Well,
that's great. Thanks a million for that. And just on the rules, I was interviewing Paddy Talley yesterday, and I just happened to ask him, have you said any clarity on when there will be like a review? And he said there wasn't, but I think what he was finding frustrating at the minute is there's still no rule book available unless it has been sent out to counties between yesterday and our conversation now as of Wednesday. So, but I think that's the frustration thing where referees were going out to referee games and the actual rules weren't officially there. And I think did it lead to the difficulty one where there was a ball moved in against Armagh, the Galway, sort of led to that. So maybe that's a wee bit of the frustration that these wee things just need, I suppose, tidying up.
I suppose Paddy's obviously under a bit of pressure as well. So if there's a call against, you know what I mean, you're certainly going to feel it. McGeaney was a wee bit indifferent in his interview after about it. But if that was 3 or 4 games in and Armagh maybe hadn't, were struggling for relegation, I don't think he'd have been as amicable in his response to that. But I think the Jim and them boys are hard workers, it seems. So they'll have a rule book to the boys, I'd say, very shortly.
I think the general consensus seems to be pretty good of a feature in today's Gaelic Life about. I was interviewing Shawnee Johnson about the rules, and he was saying the same. Just let it sit and see actually what the next few rounds bring. But he seemed to be quite enthusiastic about coaching it as well. So, Stefan and Kevin, thanks a million for your time, and maybe see you on Sunday in Ballybofey. And great to get insight on all the games. And you can tune in, folks, on Monday. We'll have a review show looking back at all the games across Ulster, see who the key players were at the weekend, and see where the points went. Stefan and Kevin, thanks a million for your time.
No bother, lads. Right. See you later. Bye-bye.